let's take a moment to talk a little bit about independent contracting. Independent contracting can be a really great way if you have idea for a business for you to either test out that business idea or a way for you to gain money in order to open your business idea. So, what is independent contracting? Independent contracting is a person or entity that provides contracted work or services to another person or entity as a non-employee. So essentially, you're doing work as someone who is a non-employee. Usually what this means is that you'll have a specific contract date, so a beginning and an end time. Usually that's a payment for one project, so you're not continually working for the same company. You might also hear independent contracting referred to as a contractor, consultant. People refer to it as their side hustle. It's sometimes called gig work, freelancing. You may be brought on as professional talent or an advisor, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, there's a lot of different names for what independent contracting is. If you want to look at it in a different way, independent contracting can also be anything that you do outside of your normal workday to get money. Since we're talking about business ideas and feasibility, your business idea doesn't always have to be huge. It doesn't have to be big. There are plenty of side hustles or starting small business ideas that can get you started and on the road to independent contracting, which means started and starting to bring in funds. And most of these can be done while you're working full-time or while you're going to school full-time. And as I mentioned before, sometimes starting as an independent contractor and kind of tiptoeing your way into the water is a great way to test out your business idea. Is there a market for what you're planning on doing? So you can test out the waters of what your business concept is without throwing too much money at it to begin with. So it's one way of testing out a business idea to see if people are interested. So here are some ideas if you wanted to, have just a side hustle as a means to make money so that in the future you can fund your business, or maybe you want to test out your business idea. Here are some ideas for that. So there's always driving. So there's Uber, there's Lyft, there's package delivery through Amazon. You could do food delivery through things like Grubhub or Uber Eats. If you are considering being a writer, you can test out your writing by, helping people write their blogs, writing your own blog. You can do editing work for people, freelance writing. If you're someone who is more tech savvy, maybe you can focus on doing independent contracting for graphics or web design or web development. If you're someone who's really into potentially doing marketing, you can reach out as a freelancer and do social media marketing for businesses. There's lots of opportunity in teaching. So let's say that you are an expert in your business idea. Maybe it's consulting, maybe it's starting a business, maybe it's how to do web development. You're an expert in creating blog content. You can start teaching other people, and this can actually be a business idea. So you could start a podcast. You can put together an online course. You can write an ebook, and you can make funds from all of those business ideas. There are things that you need to ask yourself. First, sit down and really think about, do I have a skill or talent that other people would be willing to pay me to perform? So what are you really good at? Are you a really good singer? Maybe you could get gig work as playing at somebody's coffee shop, or, even the radio needs people to put together jingles for their radio ads. So maybe you could do something like that. Do I have any resources that I could rent or share with others for profit? Resources I could use to provide a service. Again, with driving, do you have a car? If you have a car, then you could ride share with other people. So you could do Uber, you could do Lyft, you could pick up groceries for people. There's lots of jobs out there for, being a personal assistant. Maybe you can run errands for someone. Or if, let's say, you had a house or an apartment, maybe you could rent out a room or use Airbnb. Am I willing to put the time in to myself? So basically, are you willing to put yourself out there and market yourself? Being an independent contractor, things don't generally just fall in your lap. You really have to work to get your name out there and get your work out there. So it's going to take time. Are you willing to take that time to invest in yourself and in your independent contracting? So once you've come up with what your independent contracting idea is, what is this idea that you're going to use to make money, there are lots of different ways that you can market yourself. So there's always Facebook. So let's say that you were putting together a tutorial of how to do something, right? You can put those ads on Facebook and people can purchase those from you through Facebook. Or if you're selling something, let's say you're creating and selling an item, you can put that for relatively cheap on Facebook Marketplace and see if people are interested. Other sites that you can go onto for freelance work and consulting work are sites like Upwork and TopTal. This is for people who have experience already. TopTal is an example of a site that will do a background check on you. They will give you a test to make sure that you are the top of the top in your industry. But TopTal also pays much higher and attracts larger clientele for freelance work. There's also Freelancer that you can go onto. So this is freelance writing, accounting. There's all sorts of different things on there, graphic design, development. You always have Craigslist. You can post the fact that you're doing freelance work on Craigslist and give a list of what it is that you can provide. You've got Guru.com, Fiverr, Thumbtack. I've used Thumbtack multiple times specifically when I am planning events. So if you are someone who is a DJ or a florist or providing some kind of service in that aspect, Thumbtack is very lucrative. If you are making something, another place that you can market yourself is going to be Etsy. So these are all platforms that you can put yourself on. Things that you need to keep in mind if you do decide to put yourself on one of these platforms is some of these platforms are free to join. Some of them do cost upfront. So some of them do require a membership fee. Some of them will require you to pass tests for placement. So TopTal is one of those, as I already mentioned. Some of them will ask for a percentage per gig or sale. So Upwork, for example, they will take anywhere from 5% to 20% of whatever you sell or whatever gig you land. We talked about them potentially requiring a background check. Make sure that you know what is on that background check. Essentially, you want to make sure that you are well informed. So do your research. Look into each one of these companies. Look at reviews from freelancers. Make sure you know what you're expecting when you get into it. But these are all excellent platforms that will really help you out. Specifically with companies like Fiverr and Upwork, those particular platforms are really great at helping you to assess what your specific skills are. And so you become more marketable because they're willing to help you through the process. When you're an independent contractor, you really have to watch out for scammers. So occasionally you might run into people or companies that are trying to scam you, and they'll present this as an opportunity for work. So what should you watch for? You want to watch for companies that want you to pay a membership fee right away with limited info. So if you are having a hard time discerning what is involved in their membership fee, what are you getting out of it? If you are having a hard time finding reviews from other people that have used this company before, then it is potentially a scam. This type of scamming includes anyone that tells you that they want you to invest your money up front. So essentially they'll ask to pay for a starter pack or to pay for training up front, to pay for a specific marketing plan. These all fall into direct sales marketing. It says that it's this huge marketing company and they're marketing for all of these well-known companies like Amazon, and you end up selling shams in a Target parking lot. Direct sales marketing are also things that you may want to avoid as an independent contractor. These particular companies will tell you that you can make $100,000 a year, but it's incredibly difficult to do so, and it'll end up costing you a lot of time and money in order to do so. It's not impossible, just very difficult. And it's probably not the type of situation you want to get into when you are trying to launch an idea or get funds to launch an idea. Now, being an independent contractor can be great. It can be freeing, it can be lucrative. As we talked about before, it can help you test your business idea. And so, with anything, there are pros and cons of independent contracting. So, first, if you work in a creative field, generally you will own the copyrights to your work, meaning that you will always legally own whatever you create. There are some situations where you may lose your copyrights to your work, and so you want to make sure to read your agreements carefully. You may give up this right in a contract, and so make sure that you and whoever you are contracting for are very clear about who owns this content once you've created it. A major downside to being an independent contractor is you have to pay all of your own taxes. So you have to pay all of your Social Security and Medicare taxes. Usually, if you are an employee, your employer will pay half of those. As an independent contractor, you have to pay all of it. And so that can be a big chunk of change, and so always keep that in mind. A benefit of being a independent contractor is you can work where, when, and how you want to as long as you meet your deadlines. If you want to work at home, sitting on the couch in your underpants, absolutely can do that and nobody can tell you differently, right? You can also pick who you want to work with or who you don't want to work with. You can choose to build a team or you can choose to work alone. And so that particular freedom is definitely a pro. You also have financial control over the project. This can be both a pro and a con because in a lot of cases, the company that you are contracting for is willing to reimburse you for your expenses throughout the project. However, sometimes as an independent contractor, you have to bite the bullet and purchase equipment or materials that you need in order to finish the job. And so because of being an independent contractor, you may need specific tools and you may have to reach into your own pocket to finish a job. You may end up more profitable than an employee would, or you could end up losing a lot more money than an employee normally would. And so there are pros and cons with having 100% financial control of a project. The other thing that's really cool is you have the freedom to work with other companies and on multiple contracts or projects. Other things to consider. Occasionally, an employer will try to take advantage of the system by hiring people as independent contractors when they really are misclassified and they should be employees. So things to look for. If the company that you are contracting for is trying to train you how to do something, if they're telling you what hours you have to work on your project or where you can work on your project. These are all indicators that you are in fact an employee and not an independent contractor. They tell you that you have to work with a specific person or a specific team. This is an indicator that you are in fact an employee and not independent contracting. If they tell you that you cannot work with other companies before they force you to work during specific hours on this project, chances are that they are trying to take advantage of the system. Also, if they have not given you an end date to your contract, so if it's an indeterminate amount of time that you're working for this company, this also is going to show that you are most likely an employee and not an independent contractor. The reason why this is important is, once again, because of those taxes. So let's say that you have a skill, but you lack the experience or the confidence. And so you're not quite ready to jump into any of those platforms and put your services out there quite yet. So some of the things that you might be able to do to help build your experience or build your confidence is to consider an internship. There are a ton of internships out there, and you can always talk to the MiraCosta College Career Center. There are lots of different options, and they can definitely help guide your path on picking an internship that will be beneficial to you. You can also always volunteer your services to a local charity or to a community-based business. So for example, local animal shelters are always looking for people to help with their social media marketing, writing, and website development. This might be something that you can help them do, take really cute photos of puppies and blast them on the internet to help those animals get adopted. You could always trade a business for services And in return, they give you a really good recommendation or a review on one of the platforms that you're planning on becoming a part of. You can always take a class. So take another class. There are obviously lots of different options at MiraCosta College. Again, you can talk to the Career Center. You can also talk to the CLC, the Career Learning Center. They'll have lots of options for you as well.